Today we're going to talk about the surface area of a prism and a cylinder. Okay, both prisms and cylinders are three-dimensional objects. All right, so we know they're 3D. Okay, now a prism. Let's talk about a prism real quick. A prism is a three-dimensional object where its bases have to be polygons. So it could be square, rectangle, it could be pentagon, triangle, any one of those. A cylinder is a three-dimensional object where the bases are circles. Okay? So just quick definition. So let's talk about finding the surface area of a prism. Okay, the surface area is if we want to cover the outside flat surfaces of this three-dimensional object. Okay? All right, so a couple things we got to talk about here. Um, in a prism, okay, the two parallel faces, which would be, in this case, the top and the bottom, those are the bases, okay? Those are our bases, all right? All the rectangles that go around this shape, those are called the lateral faces, okay? So to find the surface area of a prism, we have a simple formula, all right? It is P times H plus 2 times capital B. Now, what do each of these stand for? All right, let's talk about what P stands for. P is the perimeter of the base. H is the height of the prism. And to define that even more, that is the distance between each base. Okay, now capital B is going to be the area of the base, or one of the bases. Okay, so this base right here can change. So it could be length times width if it's a rectangle or a square. It could be it could be 1/2 base times height if it's a triangle. It could be 1/2 apothem times perimeter if it's a regular polygon. It could be 1/2 the height times the quantity base 1 plus base 2 if it's a trapezoid. It could be a number of different things. So this base right here will determine what kind of formula you're going to use. So let's try a couple of basic ones here. Here is a rectangular prism. Okay, this rectangular prism, I'm going to deem, since every face on this is a rectangle, I'm going to make sure I deem that the top and the bottom in this case, I'm going to make the base. These are my bases. Okay, so the top and the bottom are the bases. So my surface area formula will be perimeter of the base times the height of the prism plus 2 times the area of the base. Okay? Now, perimeter times the height is what they call the lateral area. All right? That's the area around the lateral faces, not including the bases. When you add the two bases in, you have the total surface area. So let's talk about the perimeter. All right? The perimeter is going to be the distance around the edge of that base down there. So that's 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, and that is going to be 14. All right? The height is the distance between the bases, and that's going to be 5. All right, now we have 2 times the area of the base. Now I have already deemed that we have rectangles as our bases, so our area formula for a rectangle will be length times width, so 4 times 3. 4 times 3. Now we can do the math. 14 times 5 is 70. 2 times 4 times 3 would be 24. Total those together, and our surface area for this particular prism is 94 square centimeters. Now another way you can do this is you can find the area of each individual face and then add them all together. Okay, that's sometimes is easier for rectangular prisms, but we're going to stick with our formula for now. Okay, let's move ahead. Next we have Sorry, I was thinking about the other example here. Next we have a triangular prism where we have the bases. In this case, those are the parallel faces. Okay, those are both triangles, so this is a triangular prism. So we have surface area equals perimeter of the base times the height of the prism plus 2 times the area of the base. So let's talk about the perimeter of the base. I'm going to use the top since it's labeled. So we have 3, 4. Now that side is missing. So I have to figure that out. I noticed I do have a right triangle here, so I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem to figure that out. So that's going to be 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. I'm going to square root all that, and if you do that correctly, we get 5 for that side. So the perimeter would be 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 12. Okay, the height here is 6. Okay, this would be my height. And we have 2 times the area of the base. Now again, my area formula is going to depend on the type of base I have. In this case, it's a triangle, so it's 1/2 base times height. So it's going to be 1/2. Now the base of a right triangle is any of the 2 legs. I'm going to deem that 3 is my base, 4 is my height. So that'd be 3 times 4. And I'm going to go ahead and do this math. We have 12 times 6 would be 72. Half of 2, those cancel. 3 times 4 is 12. And we can add those two together. We get 84 centimeters squared for that. Okay, these are a lot more tricky here. We have, in this case, we have a hexagonal prism. All right, so our bases are hexagons. You can see it's laying on its side, so the base is the front and then in the back. Okay, so I'm going to use the same formula, perimeter times height plus 2 times the area of the base. All right, perimeter of the base would be all the way around. Each of these is 6. All right, so 6 sides, 6 times 6, it would be 36. The height is the distance between the bases, which is 12. Okay, so that is called the lateral area. Now we have 2 times the area of the base. Now this is a regular polygon, so I'm going to go 1/2 apothem times perimeter for that formula. Now the apothem from the center down to the perpendicular to the side is unknown. I'll call that A. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw my radius. I'm going to find that angle here. Now that angle is 360 divided by the number of sides divided by 2. It's half of a central angle. And if you do recall, that is a 30-degree angle. The bottom of that triangle is half the side length, which is 3. So across from the 30-degree angle is what's deemed as the short leg of that 30, 60, 90. This is 60. That means the apothem would be the long leg, which is the short leg, radical 3. So 3 radical 3 would be my apothem. And the perimeter we did before was 36. So let's make our calculations. So I'm going to do the left side of that plus sign, 36 times 12 first. And we get 432 here. The half and the 2 cancel each other out. I'm going to leave everything in radical form for now. 3 times 36 is 108. Radical 3, and now I'm going to calculate the rest of it. If we were to ask to put this in radical form, that would be complete right there. But for now, we're going to calculate everything out. So 432 plus 108 radical 3, and we get approximately 619 meters squared for the surface area of that hexagonal prism. So another way you could have used this right triangle to find the apothem, you could also use sine, cosine, or tangent to do that if you wanted to. Okay, the last example we're going to talk about is finding the surface area of a cylinder. Now this is pretty much the same formula as before. Surface area equals perimeter of the base times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. However, in a cylinder, the bases are always circles, so we can actually define what P is. The perimeter of a circle we call the circumference, which would be 2 pi times the radius, and the height would stay the height. And then area of a circle, the area of the base, which is going to be a circle, is always going to be pi r squared. So this is the formula for the surface area of a cylinder. So let's try our last example here. All right, we have 2 times pi times the radius. Now the radius would be from the center to the edge. Half of the diameter would be 1.5. The height is 4. And we have 2 times pi times the radius, which we figured out before, 1.5 squared. Now I'm going to do everything in terms of pi first. So I'm going to multiply everything here. 2 times 1.5 times 4 would be 12. So this is 12 pi. And over here we have 1.5 squared times 2, which would be 4.5, and then pi. And now if I want to bring those together, 12 plus 4.5 would be 16.5 pi centimeters squared. This is in terms of pi. If your answers as to directions tell you to do that, or we can calculate that out now, 16.5 times pi, and round it, we get approximately 52 centimeters squared. So those are the same answers, just in different forms. Hopefully you learned something about finding the surface area of a cylinder and a prism. Remember, cylinders always circle as their base, and a prism, the base can change. So have a good day.